Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Broyans Farm.
So I'm just heading down to the greenhouses now. It's a beautiful day. It's supposed to get up to like 53 degrees. And throughout the week, it's supposed to get up into the 60s. So I'm hoping the snow is all gone by about Thursday or Friday.
I'm excited to get down and check out the onions because I wasn't in the greenhouses yesterday. And Dad said they were starting to really come up for the retail sales, not for our field onions. The field onions will probably be a couple days yet. It's amazing how much stuff seems to grow when you're not here for only one day.
Like I said, the onions that we just planted on 2/24, today is I think 2/26, are not coming up yet, which I didn't expect. But now, all of the retails are doing awesome. How they grow is they're kind of like folded when they come up. And then after they get so big, then they'll kind of unfold and then they'll come straight. And it looks like the germination did good, about 25 to 40 seeds in each one. We have the onions, yellow and white here in the front, and then back here in the last row is the chives. Actually, no, that's still, Dad could have switched stuff around on me, because sometimes if he notices something isn't doing as good as he'd like, he feels like it could be because of the heat mass or some other factor, so then he'll just move it just to maybe change things up a little bit, give it some more air. And so I think this is Red Defender, along with this one I know is for sure. So you can see they must take longer to grow than the other onions. But now the chives, which is back here, are doing great. So hopefully within the next day or so, these Red Defenders are coming up good as well.
Today I'm not gonna get any seeding done, but all this stuff now here in the front right corner, salvia, pansies, celery actually isn't coming up yet, but begonias, Dad just fertilized yesterday, are starting to get big enough now to where they're almost ready to come out. Which is good because we need another section of 15 trays for the last of our onions for the field to get seeded. Out here, stuff really took off.
Here's the basil, petunias. The hot peppers aren't seeming to do real good, and I feel like that's just because it's old seed. The ghost did pretty good, but there's only a couple Trinidads, and I see only 2 Carolinas. The first of the peppers, which is yellow, red, and jalapeno, are doing great. When I say yellow and red, I mean bell. The yellow did the worst out of all of them. Again, I think that was older seed. But then right down through here, everything just did awesome. And so we are very, very close now to start transplanting. These zinnias are just about ready. The geraniums are definitely ready. And all this stuff isn't far behind. This first batch of sunflowers is definitely ready. When you can take it like that and pull it out, it's ready to go.
One thing that we really notice a difference on is that just having new seed really, really helps. We've, for the past couple of years, just been using up old seed and just kind of using what we have instead of buying new. Well, finally now we've got that older seed used up. Not that it was so old it wasn't gonna germinate, but just to where it was old enough that I think it made our percentages go down. And so now we've had mostly new seed and only a tiny bit of old. I'm noticing even a better difference than what we've had in the following years. As you can see, number 1 is really filling up fast.
But the nice thing is that all these hanging baskets you see and back there are all gonna be hung up here within the next couple days. And so that's gonna free up a lot of room for us. But then all of these pots that have 10 in a tray are gonna need to get spaced out because it's just too thick. Once they start growing in thicker and thicker, what's going to happen is we can't even see if that pot in there is dry. So they just need space and air to really grow properly.
So it's the next day.
Dad and I are going to do some rearranging in here, empty a section, that way we can finish the rest of the onions.
Okay, so we'll start off here with sweet Spanish.
I got my date already set, if you can see that.
Sweet Spanish is a yellow onion.
Print. I gotta do, I think, about like 6 of these.
Once my tags are printed, I'm gonna grab my 392 cell seed trays, if I can get it off of here with one hand. Which is what I was telling you is new for this year. Come on. Because we think that they just dry out a little bit too fast in the 512s. So far, we think they're gonna do a good job. They're not bad planting into, but we'll see how fast they dry out later on in the season. And so just like before, I'll take my tag, I'll stick it right on the front there, and then we'll get them filled up.
One thing I just learned actually a couple days ago was that board in the back with the handles that I usually use to make my impressions in the 512 seed tray is actually called a dibble board. And a new dibble board for these 392 seed trays would cost around, I think, $200 to $300. And so we just figured instead of buying a whole new dibble board for the 392 cell trays, we'll just use the actual plastic trays that we're using to plant into and press that into the soil to make the impressions that way. We're only going to be using these trays specifically for the onions, and then we won't use them for the rest of the season. A lot of you guys were asking where all this seeding equipment comes from. Well, it comes from a company called Easy Seeder. I'll have a link in the description. You can buy everything there, from the vacuum to the plates, the actual trays, everything. They have it all. So go check them out. One thing I do recommend though, if you do go with this setup, when you buy seeds, go with pelleted. As you can see here, that's what I'm using right now, and it just makes life so much easier. There's quite a few times when I'm seeding a certain kind of seed that I don't want doubles on each hole, and the pellets make that 10 times better and saves me so much time.
Just like powder. It's not better or worse.
So we just got finished up for today with the onions. We still are waiting for a couple more of our reds to come in, and then we'll be done with our field onions for good for this year. Now that we're done with onions, Dad and I have moved into bagging corn. We probably do this just about once a week at this point, and we're up to doing 75 bags now every single time, which is just kind of crazy to me because when we started out, we were doing 30 bags and it lasted about 2 weeks at our farm market. I'm hoping by summer, maybe early fall, we'll be up to 100 bags a week, but we'll see what happens. The whole process is pretty simple, besides the actual growing of the corn. Once the corn's here in the bin and it's dried, all I do is press a button, which tells the auger to run, and Dad and I each hold one side of the bag, and I fill it up to just about what I think is 50 to 52 pounds. Go and set it on the side of our scale, and then move on to the next step. This is where Dad takes over. He will weigh every single bag. That will measure exactly, or just about exactly, 51 pounds. We have our scale set for 51, but advertise 50 just because we want the customer to always be happy and never to have any complaints or anything of that sort. So he'll weigh it, I'll carry it away, and then once we get a good pile of them ready, I'll start to tying them. How you read the scale is there's that weight on the end of it, and if that goes up, that means the whole bag is too heavy. If it sits on the bottom, it means it's light. If it's floating in the middle, well, that's exactly what we want to see. After they're weighed, then we move on to tying. That's usually my job. I'll tie all 75, we'll throw them on the trailer, and then they'll go out to our market to get stacked on a pallet where they're ready for the customers to be sold.
Update on the grasses. Some of them, as you can see, are really turning green now again, doing good. Others are still very yellow. I am pretty sure that one is completely dead, along with like these other 10 here. We have some of these here that are mostly yellow but have a green leaf coming out. So that's promising, along with these guys down here. But like I said, these 5, 10, 15 here in the middle look very, very sickly. That one might make it. These aren't looking too good.
I separated them.
It looks like there's at least 10 there that are
These have some
dead.
green in them. These 3 right here have no color to them.
It's getting towards the end of the day. Obviously, you've seen how we got the onions done, finished bagging corn, got that out to the market, unloaded. Now I'm back here to the greenhouse. I finished up hooking up some of my water lines.
If you've been following along earlier in the season, you'll know that on these tables we have a main header line going across and all these drippers come out of it. But down there in the middle, the header lines aren't specific to each table. They kind of run across like a table and a half. And I wanted them to be on each table that way.
In case we have a small variety of something and it takes more or less water, well, now we can have all that same variety on one table and water that and only that variety. Also then, over the winter, when we want to clean, we can move all the tables out of here and clean, and it just makes it so much easier. So I finished that up, and I'll do a little walk around, I'll show you that. But now what I'm doing is I'm filling 4.5-inch pots for Mom, because she is right now potting the sweet potato vine. Not only the black, but the, I'm gonna call it like light green. So these are the black sweet potato vine. Over there's the light green. Oh, and a bunch there. Here's all the onions that we moved out. Nice and heavy. So what I was saying was, we have 3 different tables here. 1, 2, and 3. Originally, we had this header line, which is underneath the plastic right now, run all the way down across, and it ended right here. So what I did was, I cut it here, capped it off, put a splice in the middle, and then ran a line down. So now this table's separate, that table's separate, and now this table down here is separate, which is going to be very nice. Before I go home for the day, I'm just going to do a little walk around, show you guys what things are looking like now that we're about 2 or 3 weeks into it, with having all of our hang baskets and 4.5-inch pots and some 6.5-inch pots done. Not a lot of color yet. There is some here and there. Now what's going to happen with this is that's actually going to get trimmed off, along with probably this over here. The whole point is we want to keep these baskets nice and even and rounded, because if you have one that shoots off kind of like this one is and like this one is, well, then you're going to have a long straggler later on in the season that you don't really want. And so some of these pots have 2, some have 3, some have 4, some have 5 different varieties in them. I'm not going to go over all of them, but there just really isn't much color yet besides one here and there. Over on this side is the scented geraniums that Mom actually just got done today, along with, I think, New Guinea impatiens. Here's Gerber daisies. On the left side here is lemongrass, Prince Tuts. Here's all different color verbena. We have the pink. This should be the purple. Yep. Down here is all the zonal geraniums, which I'm probably going to start spacing out tomorrow on the waters, but I'll show you that in a different video. Down here is all the seedlings. And over here we have, I think, the 12-inch hanging baskets, or 14-inch, I'm not sure what size they are. Vinca vine. It's a nice little flower coming out. Down here we have rosemary, petunias, celosia here on the right. I'm not a big fan of those. Coleus, more coleus, and then as you've seen, the grasses. Here is some of Mom's cone baskets, I guess we'll call them. You can either put them in this little stand here, or hang them, whatever you want to do with them. So they'll be pretty cool. I don't think we had those other years. So if you want to see how things, keep progressing as the season goes on, just be sure to keep watching, because I'm going to show basically every step of the way all the way up until we go to market and sell it to the customers. That's what I'm gonna call it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.